Okay, so I heard a wee bit of news that Ray Fisher is done wanting to make videos for Walter Hamada. So that got me concerned because Grace Randolph here says, I hear Warner Brothers doesn't want to use Ray Fisher in any upcoming DCU. And today Fisher says he doesn't want to be in them. Now that concerned me a lot because we can stand beside him, but sometimes you got to think, well, the fans have supported you, so why do you not, we still want you as Cyborg, and sometimes you have to watch what you see and be careful. Yes, we know you're standing up for people's rights and everything else, and we admire the fact that you're standing by your morals. We get that, but at the same time, it's the fans that will also be missing out. So it's definitely a worrying time. So what is the future of Cyborg in DC films now? It's getting everybody angry, it's getting everybody upset. As it goes on, it's in my sincere hope that this is the last time I have to write about this story in 2020. Ray Fisher goes into open revolt against DC films. Cancel culture trying to get Walter Hamada fired because of Ray Fisher. Not satisfied with the Justice League investigation, anyone want to tell the cancel mob that Mr. Hamada is also not a white dude, or does Asian Americans not count anymore? Can 2020 be over now? What else? Expand a child's world device book. Justice League star Ray Fisher says he won't participate in any production involving DC films head. Like, I love these dudes that cry bias while doing nothing but pushing their bias to a biased fan base is goddamn hilarious. Still waiting on that Cyborg and Batfleck show announcement, though any day. Now I'm sure. Biased fan base, We'll talk that to the Marvel side. Scott Menderson talk about Marvel fan. It's about time. What's he? And the Flash will begin filming in the UK. Scott Menderson, who's never supported DC films. Really? Ray Fisher worked on Wonder projects under DC films. Ray Fisher revealed that he will not be part of any Warner Brothers project that are associated with current DC president. Now that is what we have got to remember. Under Walter Hamada. He's not going to work under Walter Hamada. Not that saying he's not going to do another Cyborg, as long as it's not under Walter Hamada. So let's look at what Ray Fisher actually says. Over 80 people were interviewed for Warner Media's Justice League investigation. A fair, though, and protected process for witnesses was the first and most important step, ensuring that action is taken in the next. Thank you for all those who lent their voice. Walter Hamada is the most dangerous kind of enabler. His lies and Warner Brothers PR's failed September 4th hit piece sought to undermine the very real issues of the Justice League investigation. I will not participate in any production associated with them. Now, like any fan, I got worried. I am worried. I want more Zack Snyder films. I want part 1, part 2, part 3. So when I heard the news that Ray Fisher was done with DC films, I panicked. I must have jumped on. Well, how can we get this? Are we just going to get Zack Snyder's Justice League? And I know all the people out there are rooting for 2 and 3. I'm one of them, but at the same time, there is doubt niggling away at my back. And I like, when I make these videos, to be honest. I don't want to come on making videos that's constantly positive. You know, I want to ask the question that everybody's asking. Everybody has the doubts for. And maybe by asking these or putting some doubt out there, we'll get communicating, we get talking, but nobody's talking anything in the comment section. So I rattle on and talk. I put the questions out there to all those fans. I mean, as I said, I've spent years fighting against the biased treatment towards DC, the biased treatment towards Zack Snyder, and how these so-called haters and trolls are calling us a biased fan base. We're not biased. You know, we just love what we love, and we will stick up for those things that we love, and we will see the goodness where you will, because you're biased yourself, you will just condemn it because nothing shines more in your eyes than a Marvel Disney fed system. So, what does it actually mean? What all this about Ray Fisher? The investigation is done. I've seen reports about Jason Momoa basically saying, you know, we've got to stand by Ray Fisher as he fights the good fight. We've heard from Gal Gadot. I mean, I don't know about this sort of comment, but she said yes, she dealt with Joss Whedon on the set. She dealt with him there and then, and that was the end of the matter. So what does that say about Ray Fisher? What, that he never battled at that same time, that he never fought the good fight, and he never argued against Joss Whedon? No, I believe he did fight against Joss Whedon at the time. But because him being a man, maybe black of colour, that they felt like they had more and probably less known at the time than Gal Gadot, that they felt like they could pressure men more than Gal Gadot. I mean, let's put it this way, we still got the Gal Gadot, the Flash, jumping on top of Wonder Woman's, but so did she ever win anything there? No, because that scene was still shot. They got a body double. She might have moaned a little bit, but she never got, she didn't win her case. Ray Fisher is still going out there fighting the fight. Gal Gadot has moved on like a lot of the other actors have done in the past, but Ray Fisher is sticking to the guns and fighting not just for himself, but for others. So as we look at this article, managing movie superheroes is about to get a lot more complicated. Walter Amada, who runs DC Films, is overseeing a dizzying number of projects, part of a swarm of comic-based stories coming from Hollywood. Right, and it goes on. Now, this is by Brooks Barnes, 27th of December 2020, so it's relatively new. Los Angeles, Walter Amada is not a typical superhero wrangler. Probably knows very little about superheroes. He doesn't have a booming fanboy and chief personality. His modest home office, at least as it appears on Zoom, is light on the usual cape and kill collectibles. There we go, not much of a fan. Hollywood was not even his first calling. He's out to be a mechanical engineer. Again, somebody in the film industry that hasn't really got film as their number one love, unlike directors like Zack Snyder. As the president of DC Films, however, Mr. Amada, 52, manages the movie careers of Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg, The Flash, Superman, and every other DC comic superhero, and the new course he has charted for them is dizzying. Now, here we have a guy who wanted to go into car mechanics, right? He wanted to be a mechanical engineer, right? I know that's got nothing to do with cars, right? But he wanted to go into that. And instead, he ends up in the film industry he knows probably very little of. He goes into a division where it's all about superheroes. Now, being a fan of superheroes, I would, like I have in my house, decorated with DC superheroes everywhere. I wear tops, I wear pants, I wear socks with superheroes. If I won it, if I worked in a studio that had Batman and Superman, I would have that in my office. Especially if I'm working for Warner Brothers. Does he have that? No. So already he's in a field he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the fan base. He doesn't understand how comics works or the comic universe. So he basically gets people that does DC Comics and writes for DC Comics, get them in charge of the movies. And again, like I've often said, just because you can write great comics doesn't mean you can write good movies. The most expensive DC movies up to a 4-year, starting in 2022, are designed for release in theatres, Mr. Amada said. Additional superhero films, 2 annually as they go, perhaps focused on riskier characters like Batgirl and Static Shock were arrive exclusive on HBO Max, which is okay. I was really my anticipation there for movies was going down. The fledgling streaming service owned by Warner Media. In addition, DC Films, which is part of Warner Brothers, will work with filmmakers to develop movie offshoots, TV series that will run on HBO Max and interconnect with the big screen endeavours. Yes, well, so this is a new thing. So are we getting the CW, right? That's going to be something different. And then we have this Batman movie that isn't really a part of the DC connected universe that was promised to us. They're already talking about a TV show for that. So that's, again, one universe, still not the connected universe. And now we have this Snyder universe, which is going to HBO Max, which should be the main one, but sadly isn't anymore. Hopefully the Snyder Cut will change your opinion there. With every movie that we're looking at now, we are thinking, what's the potential maximum spin-off, Mr. Amada said. Yes, Mr. Amada is thinking about money. He's not thinking about the movies. He's thinking about the spin-off TV shows, the TV shows that are making money. He's not interested. The thing that Disney did is they made the movies, and then when they've done the movie things for the streaming service, they created TV shows, which some of them are good, some of them are bad, and they don't really interconnect very well. Whew. Have you thought there was a glut of superheroes before? Just wait. You had Ben Affleck hang up his cowl. You've had fans crying out for Henry Cavill's Man of Steel 2. How did you answer that? With another version of Batman. Okay? And with other characters. And you thought, well, hello, Superman was one of your key characters that you started off the universe with. Let's get him up and running. To make all the storylines work, DC Films introduced movie audience to comics concept known as the multiverse. Parallel worlds where different versions of the same characters exist. Simultaneously coming up, for instance, Warner Brothers will have 2 different film sagas involving Batman, played by 2 different actors running at the same time. Now, here we go. So, you're going to have 2 Batman at the same time. Now, that's just 1 year, right? So, Zack Snyder film comes out. Plus, you've got your the other Batman film coming out, playing with Patterson, right? So, you've got they 2. That film just doesn't interest me whatsoever. So, you've got those 2 Batman. But in order to kind of go with what this paragraph says, to make it any really importance, you'd have to have more Batman from both sides. And as I say, coming up, for instance, Warner Brothers will have 2 different film sagas. Film sagas. Saga meaning more than one, involving Batman played by 2 different actors, because you can't really call it 2 film sagas when there's only one Zack Snyder version. So that must mean they're planning on making more than one Zack Snyder movie involving Batman. So we could there's a bit in there that's basically saying you're getting Justice League Part 2 from Zack Snyder. That's, for me, that's what that says. Because a saga isn't a saga if it's just one. So, the complicated plan involves a sharp increase in production. Last year, Warner Brothers made 2 live-action superhero movies, Joker and Shazam. In 2018, there was only Aquaman. All 3 were smash hits, underscoring the financial opportunity of making more. For various reasons, including creative misfires, yes, creative misfires, that's getting the wrong writers, treating your directors wrong, treating the people on set wrong, and basically mixing up different creative ideals. So for various reasons, including creative misfires and management turnover at DC Films, Mr. Amada took over in 2018. So, 2018. So he's actually coming into the mix of all the problems that Warner Brothers was somehow having at the time. But he's just taking a back seat. Warner Brothers has badly trailed Disney-owned Marvel at the box office over the last decade. Warner Brothers has generated $8 billion in worldwide superhero ticket sales, including $36 million from Wonder Woman 84 over the weekend. Marvel has taken in $20.6 million. Right. Marvel started the universe and says, oh look, this is the way we're making a universe. This is the way that we're doing it. We're going to make all these hundreds of movies that don't really connect with each other, and we're going to lead it up to a big group of people getting together. And to be honest, there's not much happening in that first Avengers movie. There's not been much happening. I mean, have you seen the first couple of Thor movies? Then you get BVS, which is deep, meaningful, but of course, for some people, it's far too intellectual, especially when you cut the film down to only 2 hours. You're missing out some of the plots. But why? Because Warner Brothers was greedy. They wanted 2-hour slots. Okay? And we all know when you introduce so many characters, superhero characters in the one movie, or villains or whatnot, more than 2 at a time, and you've got to do the backstory, the film fails. Look at Spider-Man 3. So, it goes on. Suffice to say, Warner Brothers, which invented the big budget superhero movie in 1978 with Superman, has been under pressure to get its act together. You look at Batman with Michael Keaton 1 and 2. Then they went to Joel Schumacher. Hello. And then, of course, Man of Steel. They did the same thing which they did with Richard Donner and got another director in for the sequel. Disney has succeeded in part because its divisions collaborate in a way that siloed Warner Brothers never has, but that is changing. AT&T mandated Great Outgrowth's company Synergy when it took over Warner Media in 2018. In the past we were so secretive, Mr. Maddis said. It was shocking to me, for example, for few people at the company were actually allowed to read scripts for the movies we are making. So, who's actually reading the scripts? And so secretive. So, what is it? Just the actors that can't read it? Do they have a say how the film goes out? Do you not all talk when making a movie? What do you actually mean when you were actually allowed to read scripts for the movies? I don't know. For more than ever, studios are leaning on pre-established characters and brands, especially if the cooperative parents are building streaming services. HBO Max has 12.6 million subscriber activations. Netflix, 195 million. Of course, because it's worldwide. How do you delight Wall Street and quickly close the gap? You start by putting your superheroes to work. No, you don't do that. What you do is you get on the bandwagon with Disney. You close down Sky that has stopped you going to countries like the UK and make sure that these are worldwide. We already have websites and pages out there. It's actually trying to teach the world how to cheat and how to actually get on your subscription service. You know, even though we shouldn't be allowed to. We have to start pirating. Get your act together. This month, Disney announced 100 new movies and shows for the next few years. Most of them headed directly to its Disney Plus streaming service, which has 87 million subscribers. Never me. I will never be one. Marvel is chipping in 11 films and 11 television shows, including WandaVision, which arrives on January 15 and finds Elizabeth Olsen reprising her Scarlet Witch role from the Avengers franchise. Oh yes, she was really put to good use there with the Hulk, wasn't she? Oh yes, the Hulk and her was getting on, even though the Hulk tried to kill her. And then, hey, everything's okay. That's 2 minutes afterwards. I wonder if did it ever happen in the film where the Hulk lands on, Scarlett Johansson, and they kind of get up and go, "Oh, sorry about that." Warner Bros. Has at least as many comic-based movies in various stages of gestation, including a Suicide Squad sequel, The Batman, in which Robert Pattinson, Twilight, plays the Caped Crusader, and Black Adam, starring Dwayne Johnson as the villainous title character. Television spin-offs from The Batman and the Suicide Squad are headed to HBO Max. Warner Media's traditional television has roughly 25 additional live, action and animated superhero shows, including Superman and Lois, which arrives on the CW network in February. Who's excited for that? Sony Pictures Entertainment has its own superhero slate, with at least 2 more Spider-Man movies in the works. Morbius, starring Jared Leto as a vampire, and a sequel to Venom, which cost $100 million to make in 2018 and collected $856 million worldwide. Sony also has a slate of superhero TV shows headed for Amazon Prime Video. And don't forget Valiant Entertainment, which is turning comics properties as a harbinger about superhero teenagers into movies with partners like Paramount Pictures. Superheroes have been Hollywood's most reliable moneymakers, especially when sales of related merchandise are included. Wonder Woman tiara for cats on sale for $59. But how much spending spandex and computer-generated visual effects can audience take? More than you think, said David A. Gross, who runs Franchise Entertainment Research, a film consultancy. If the stories are well written and the production values are strong, he said, then there will be a little sign of fatigue. Perhaps the biggest challenge facing Warner Brothers involves the recent prioritisation of HBO Max. The risk is, we're watching these movies first on television, degrade the entertainment experience and later the value, Mr. Gross said. For an individual movie, there is no profitable business model than a successful theatrical release, creating the biggest pop culture event possible. It's a locomotive that pulls the entire train, merchandise, theme park, licensing, other income. On Friday, Warner Bros. Released Wonder Woman 84 in North America, where it collected $16.7 million. Citing the coronavirus pandemic, only 39% of cinemas in the United States are open. The studio simultaneously distributed the film in theatres and on HBO Max. Warner Bros. Will release its entire 21 slate in the same hybrid fashion. As I say, Warner Bros. Isn't open here. Nobody's going to see it. And because of the world already seeing it, it's already getting spoiled for many people out there. Check my review of Wonder Woman and my other videos. Warner Bros. Provided only vague information about the sequel's performance on HBO Max, saying in a news release that millions of subscribers watched it on Friday, and FSL Warner Media's direct-to-consumer general manager said the movie exceeded our expectations across all of our key viewing and subscriber metrics. Now here's the thing. Remember what I said earlier on about how the UK is not seeing it? Well, probably that's how big YouTubers like Film Gub and people from the UK have seen it, is they've cheated. And how I, big supporter of cinema, is waiting to see it on the big screen. I don't want to subscribe. I want to support the DC franchise. They support the movies. But then again, when you have problems that Zack Snyder had, and only HBO Max is the answer to go to, then whatever happens to Warner Brothers, you deserve it, pal. So far, Wonder Woman 84 has collected 85 million worldwide, with 68.3 million coming from cinemas overseas, where HBO Max does not yet exist. The film, starring Gal Gadot and directed by Patty Jenkins, cost at least $200 million to make and an estimated $100 million to market worldwide. It received much weaker reviews than its series predecessor. Of course, I know the reason why. Check out my Wonder Woman review. What else worldwide? They say overseas. Toby Emmerich, president of the Warner Brothers Picture Group, said on Sunday that he had fast-tracked a third Wonder Woman. Fast-tracking it. Right. So yeah, we can get excited about it, but for me, all I'll be asking is, who's writing it? Is it more to do with Zack Snyder's sort of Justice League storyline, or will it be another sort of Me Too, Woman a Great sort of movie that's the world that we're living in? Our real-life Wonder Woman, Gal and Patty, will return to conclude the long-planned theatrical trilogy, Mr. Emmerich said. Wait a minute, whoa. Third part, listen, all I've heard from Patty Jenkins for the last few months is that the stories and whatnot are changing because she wants to write things that reflect the times that we are living in. So it's, for me, I don't think the original plan is going the same way. I think because of what's happening in the world, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too crowd, the lockdown scenario, everything is changing. Mr. Armada rose to power through New Line, a Warner Brothers division that mostly makes mid-budget horror films, like Nightmare on Elm Street, and comedies. Among other achievements, he worked with the filmmaker James Wan and others to build The Conjuring, 2013, into a 6-film world with 1.8 billion in global ticket sales. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, arrives in June. So here we have Walter Amada, who is specialising in low-budget movies to make more money. So is that a cause for concern for a guy that comes from making all these low-budget movies to grow big ones? Yes, that's a bit of concern, because what he's thinking is, if we can cheapen the cost down for these movies, then we can make more profit. Well, and probably by shortening the movies, it could be less profitable, or is it more profitable to make it big movies and only put it in certain amount of cinemas? You've got to weigh up the pros and cons. A lot of times in studio meetings, executives just repeat buzzwords and it becomes a joke, Mr. Wan said. Walt always brings something constructive, useful and important to the table. He talks to me in a language that I understand. There's a picture of him now with Jason Momoa. Mr. Aaron Moore and Jason Momoa staff Aquaman, which was the lone superhero movie from Warner Brothers. When Mr. Amada arrived at DC Films in 2018, the division was in urgent need of stability. 2 terrifying, expensive movies, BVS, Dawn of Justice, and 2016's Justice League, both directed by Zack Snyder, were deemed almost unwatchable by critics. And of course they made that mistake by listening to critics who, again, we know are biased because they get paid by things like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that are owned by Disney. Ben Affleck, who played Batman in the films, wanted to move on, complicating sequel plans. Of course he wanted to move on because the shite that was happening. Complicating sequel plans at the same time. Filmmakers were developing other DC movies that had nothing to do with the existing storylines, and in fact contradicted some of them. Now, see, this is when you start wondering. Now, this comes from the New York Times, so you've got to start asking the questions: who's writing this, and where is he getting his facts from, and stuff like that? Because we keep on hearing contradicting stories that when Zack Snyder has said himself that the films that came after the Joss Whedon movie, that the films then started to change and go with that version instead of Zack Snyder's. But then you've got the directors coming out and saying, oh no, we still respect Zack Snyder and we had his vision when we were making those movies. That's because of the Zack Snyder's coming out and proving that everybody's wrong, that there's a huge fan base out there that want this. I'm curious in what he's going to say next about the Snyder movement. Mr. Hamada and Mr. Emmerich had two options: figure out how to make the various storylines and character incarnations coexist, or start over. The answer is the multiverse. Boiled down, it means that some characters, Wonder Woman portrayed by Miss Gal Gadot for instance, will continue their adventures on Earth 1, while new incarnations, Mr. Patterson's as the Batman, will populate Earth 2. The Flash, a film set for release in theatres in 2022, will link the two universes and feature two Batmans, with Mr. Affleck returning as one and Michael Keaton returning as the other. Mr. Keaton also played in Batman 89 and 82. To complicate matters further, HBO Max gave Mr. Snyder, here we go, more than $70 million to recut his Justice League and expand it with new footage. Mr. Snyder and Warner Brothers had clashed over his original version, which the studio deemed overgrim, resulting in reshoots handled by a different director, Joss Whedon, that didn't go well either. Zack Snyder's Justice League, now 4 hours long, will arrive in segments on HBO Max in March. I loved how they phrased that. Overgrim, yeah, you mean, you know, it wasn't cheesy, it wasn't full of plot holes, and when you talk about reshoots, you've been basically making a whole new movie costing you, and $70 million to expand a film that was already done. $70 million's there to make more than one movie that costs just that it's going to be 4 hours. Seriously, at least for now, Mr. Snyder. Now, oh god, here comes the punch in the gut. At least for now, Mr. Snyder is not part of the DC Films blueprint, with studio executives describing his HBO Max project as a storytelling cul-de-sac, a street that leads nowhere. Are you shitting me? Zack Snyder is the guy that created the DC universe that you're spinning off your heroes to. The one guy that basically you were relying on to create a DC universe, and when you didn't like his version, you screwed him, you manipulated him, you hurt everybody, you basically screwed with everybody's attempt to get his film onto the set. We have now Ray Fisher coming in and exploiting you, and you're trying to say that leads nowhere? No. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League is the film that everybody should be jumping onto. That is leading to somewhere. That is leading to a big fight. But no, you still want to bugger him, don't you? You still want to get that by making a Flash movie with the multiverse, so you could destroy something that every fan for the last few years, including myself, has been campaigning for. You can throw in the works with a Flashpoint story, but basically after you see Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's the only sequel you want is part 2 to that. The multiverse concept has worked on television, but it's risky strategy for big screens. These movies need to attract the widest audience possible to justify their cost, and too much of a comic nerd sensibility can be a turn-off. New actors can take over a character. Here we go. James Bond is his best example, but multiple Gothams spinning in theatres. Look, long as James Bond is a guy, he's alright. As long as he's British and whatnot and everything else, he's alright. If you want to make a black James Bond, a lesbian gay Bond, a woman James Bond, don't have him being 007, 006, 008, 009, whatever. I don't think anyone else has ever attempted this, Mr. Amada said, but audience are sophisticated enough to understand it. If we make good movies, they'll go with it. Yes, they will make good movies. If you listen to directors and let them make the films they want to, because they know how to make films, instead of you guys, instead of the so-called boards that somehow step in and think that you know better than directors that know how to tell a story. That's like telling an author how to write a book. So, and now you're going to how Disney destroyed Star Wars by getting rid of, by Ray Fisher not being Cyborg. You're already will be, and you can talk about the multiverse all you want, but all the people in their minds right now, the only person they want to see in the big screen is Ray Fisher. The only films they want to see, including myself, is the Zack Snyder film, and then it's all the other directors that want to take these characters from these movies, and believe me, there's going to be more heroes than what you just saw in the Justice League. There's going to be more heroes featured in the Zack Snyder's Justice League. Take cues from them. And maybe your Wonder Woman 84 would be more of a success if you take a cue from the first one that was also aided by Zack Snyder. Catch you next time.